Right, so this is part 3. What we're going to do, go through Express, and we're going to extend the simple node example from the last video. So quickly I'll just go through what Express is. So Express is a high-performance web application framework for Node. Okay, it sits above the HTTP Node module. So when you use Express, you don't need to include it. HTTP, let's have a look actually. So that's the HTTP module, and if you remember, when we were using vanilla Node, I guess you call it, when we were just using Node on its own, when we returned content, we did response.writeHead, response.write, and response.end. In Express, it's all together in one function called response.send, so you don't need to worry about putting these two. Also, you don't need to worry about the writeHead and returning the content type. Express automatically will return the content type of HTML because it's for creating web pages. So that's that. So Express handles routing really easy as well. And when I say that, I mean navigating to different URLs. So if the user passes your domain / information or your domain / about, when it comes into the Node server in Express, it will go through a couple of functions. So they have app.get and app.use. So app.get will just transfer the person to the correct function and render the correct view for the URL they've given, and app.use is what you use when you want to incorporate middleware. Okay, middleware is for creating tasks that happen between routes in your app. When using middleware, you just call a function named next at the end, and it will move on to the next middleware. If there isn't another bit of middleware, then it will go to the root. Using Express is simpler than Node in a few ways. So one that I already mentioned was that you don't have to return the MIME type because it expects text / HTML. I know it's not a big thing, but it's just one of those small things that you don't have to worry about. So if you wanted to install Express, then you get it from npm. So you do I've already got it installed, but we can still do it. So you do npm. I have to put sudo, but you may or may not have to. So sudo npm install Express, and then what you want to do is you want to do dash save. So before I click enter, what we'll look at is we'll look at the package.json that you'll remember from the last video, and as you can see, we have no dependencies at the moment, but now I've put npm install express and dash save, what's going to happen is this Express is going to be added into this file. So you don't have to put dash save, but I'm going to for now. So let's have a look. So we'll put the password in. So what it's going to do, it's going to get that package. It's going to install. It shouldn't take too long. There we go. So that's done. So what we'll do now is we'll go over to the package.json, and it says it's been updated. So we click yes, and then we can see that dependency has been added to the package.json file. So what this means is, if we gave another developer the project, or say we made it available through GitHub or wherever, we wouldn't, to keep the file size down, we wouldn't include the actual files for the dependencies. What we would do is we'd include this package.json file, and this would set what the dependencies are. Then, let's clear this up. So then, when another developer comes, they can navigate to the project directory and they can simply do npm install, and what will happen is it will install the dependencies for that project. Right, so let's now refactor this example to use Express. Okay, so let's get rid of this and we'll type Express. Then what we want to do is we'll keep the files that was from the other example. We won't need that actually. So let's start Express. So we'll create a variable called app, and it will just be express. That's just going to kickstart the Express server. So then, what we'll want to do is we'll create a root. Sorry, not that. Dot get. So this would be just if someone visits our domain at the root level. So in this case, it would just be localhost colon 4000. That's what this slash represents. So we have a function, and as before, it has. Let's just get rid of this. As a request and a response. And what we're going to do is we will just use response.send. So this is going to do the response.write and wait, let's not make the same mistakes last time. Res.send, and this will do the res.write and res.end at the same time. And also you'll notice we're not including the write head for the content type, as I mentioned, because we don't need that. So that's that, and then what we want to do, we want to start the server. So do var server. Then we want to equal app.listen, and then let's do this a little different as well this time. So what we'll do is we'll have this, and it will be our this will be our callback function, and all this will do is when everything starts, we'll just get that console log. Okay, so that should get that started. So let's clear this again, and let's do node server. Express has started. So now when we go to the browser, and we click here, my first Express app. So as you can see, that is actually less code than we did when we were doing it with just Node on its own. So by including Express, we've actually shortened the amount of code we've got to write anyway, and we're going to have a lot more options available to us. So how about let's make a couple more routes. So we've got our route. So let's say that's a route. So what about let's make up one that is just anything, it doesn't matter. So let's just go one deeper. So say to an about us page. So let's copy that. So what I'll do is I'll do this, and then we'll do one where, oh no, do you know what? How about let's pass a variable into it. That could be interesting. So let's do who, and then we'll do a name. And then what we'll do is we'll go to that URL and we'll be able to type any name there, and we'll be able to print it to the page. So it makes it a bit more dynamic. So let's do that. So who. So what you want to do when you're doing a variable in the URL or a query string, whatever you want to call it, you want to do colon the word that the variable name, and then end it with a question mark. Okay. So then what we're going to do is just add one line, and it's going to be var name. So this relates to that, and we're going to do equals rec, which would be request dot params dot name. Okay. So all that's doing is looking at the query string and getting the name variable, and we're putting it into here. So then what we can do is we'll change this, and it will say hello, and then we'll add the name there. So whatever URL we go to, whatever name we put, we should be able to see that name. So let's see that working. So let's cancel that. When I'm cancelling this, stopping the server, I'm pressing Control and C. That's how I'm stopping that. And then when I'm clearing the screen, I'm pressing Control and Al. Right, so node server. So it started. So that route still works. The there. So now let's go to who slash and let's put Gary. So hello Gary, and then this could say anything. So Tyler, and then it could be anything. Frank. Yeah. So you can see how that works. It's like a dynamic routing there. So what that could be is if you think you had a social network system or anything like that, then you could use the query string here. That could be an ID or anything, and then you can pass it through to your application, and then you could filter that or look for a user in a database or anything. You can do anything with that. This just shows you how easy it is to actually write some dynamic content with literally hardly any code. So we could go further with that. You could do another one, and it could be title. So yeah, so let's do that actually. Let's add another one. So just to show you how that would happen. 9, and then we go and title equals. Nice, let's restart that again. And let's just do, so there we go, hello Frank and title manager, and that could be anything. So you can pass multiple through there, and all you need to do is just make sure that you follow the same convention each time, and that is it. And you just do request.params dot the name of the parameter. So it's really simple, right? So one other thing, so at the minute, if we go to a route that doesn't exist, so say we went one deeper, then there we go, we're going to get an error. So what you can do is you can do a sort of catch-all. So let's do error. That's what I want to do. When it does this, it goes from top to bottom when it's looking. So if it gets to here, this star is just going to mean all. So if it ever gets to here, what we can write is this would be our 404 page. Yeah, I mean you do something better than that, but as an example. So let's go here. Let's stop that. Restart. So now when we load that, we get that content, and that would be for anything. So it defaults to that when it doesn't find one. It's quite handy. Right, so that's that. So what you really want to do is if you were building a live app, you wouldn't want to just be printing text to the screen. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to just put that in there. Right. So what you want to do is you'd want to use some sort of template engine. Okay. So the two main popular ones are Jade and EJS. I prefer EJS because it reminds me of PHP, and I'm from a PHP background. So to use a template engine, what you want to do is you want to call a function called render instead of send, and you want to create a folder called views, and then within there is where you'll put your template files. Okay, so we'll do all this in a sec. Let's do that now actually. So let's get out of there, let's clear it. So what I want to do is we're going to make a directory called views. So that has been made in our test app folder. And then in there, what we want to do is we want to cd into views, and we want to make a file, and we'll call it default.ejs. Okay. So let's open that in Dreamweaver. I think would be the easiest. Right, so we've got our file called default.ejs. So what we want to do is we're going to do a super basic HTML page just for now. I mean, when you're doing this live, what you want to do is you want to use maybe the boilerplate example with Modernizer or something like that, Bootstrap. But what you'll see is we'll use all those things in the next video where we go through Angular, and we'll really expand all this to it will start forming an actual site that you could use. But anyway, so for now, we'll just do it like this. Head. Right. So what we want to do is we'll pass a variable. Okay, so how you do that in EJS is you do less than % equals then the name of the variable, so we'll just call it title. Then we do % and a greater than, and then what we'll do in the body is we'll just have a h1 header tag, and we'll pass it our name. So we use the root that we made at the beginning where it was who/name/title. So using that root, we're going to come to this file and we're going to render the page. So hi, and then we'll do the same. We'll do name, if that makes it a bit easier to read. So yes, that's a really simple HTML file. So what we want to do now is we want to go back to the server, and we want to rejig this line. So we don't want to do the send anymore. What we want to do pardon me, is we want to call render. So what we do is we do response.render, and then what you put here in the first parameter is the name of the template file. Automatically what Express will do is it will look in a folder called views. So we don't need to put the path to the file, but we do need to put the file name. So we'll put EJS. There are things that you can do with Express where you set properties, I guess, and you can set the template engine so you don't have to put the extension in. But for now, I think it's a bit out of the scope of this. I don't want to do too much at once because it takes away from learning the actual enough to get started. Right, so what we want to do is we're going to pass whatever we put here now is what's going to be passed into the app, okay? Into the template file, sorry. So we'll do title and we'll do name. So now that should work. So right, so before I start this, I've just thought I haven't installed EJS yet. So let's go npm install EJS --save. Right, if I hadn't have done that, yeah, package.json is updated. So if we look in there, EJS has been added. If I didn't do that, then when I would have went to load this page that calls for the EJS file, it would have crashed and just gave me an error saying it doesn't know what EJS is. Right, so now that's sorted, let's clear that and let's load it up. There we go. So as you can see here, we've got the title in the title of the page and it's Hi Gary. I mean, I know that's still really basic, but just think, now if we view the source, this is that HTML, and that could be anything. You could have your Angular, jQuery, Bootstrap, anything you wanted, anything at all. So that really opens up for what you could do. You could build any sort of website now. So what I think is that's probably it for this. I don't know. Oh, okay, I know what. One more thing we'll go through. If you didn't want to go through all those steps, what you can do is you can install something called the Express generator, okay, and it can do a lot of the work for you. So if you wanted to do that, let's do that now actually. So I've already got it installed, but if you wanted to install the Express generator, you do sudo npm install -g express -generator. Password is that. Right, so this will install the generator. This might take a while actually. Right, so that's installed Express Generator. So let's quickly, we'll get out of this folder, let's go up one. And let's create a new folder, so make directory Express Gen Test CD Gen Test. So let's go into that. So now what you want to do, to generate an Express project, what you'll do is you'll type Express -e and then the name of your project. So Express Gen Test. Okay. So hit enter, and what you'll see there is I can't scroll down, but it's created. Let's open this folder. So it's created that folder, and then it's created an Express app. It's got give you all the files. It's give you package.json. It's included a basic style sheet, I'm guessing. Just the basics of what you need is give you so it's give you a couple of template files built in, an index and an error, which is handy. A couple of roots. So as you saw in the example that we did, let's just open this. A lot of it's the same. So if you look at ours, really stripped back, and then if you look at the generated one, it's a few more things passed in here. So body parser, you need that if you want to pass HTTP post requests, handling cookies, login stuff. Favicon is to have the little icon in the browser. Path is for file manipulation, I believe, and more to do with file paths and directories. So what they've got here is these two are where they are storing the roots. So instead of having them here within the server file, they're in different files. So if we open index of that, that's not there, is it? Oh, here it is. Right, so if we open index, so what you see is it's including Express again. It's creating an Express router, and then here it's doing router.get. So that is the equivalent of our app.get. Okay. Same thing, it's just in an external file. And when you create your own, this is how you will do it. So what I think we'll do is in the next video when we do Angular, I think we'll generate an Express app and we'll use the generated template as our starting point, and we'll tidy it up and include Angular and then go from there talking about Angular and how it works and stuff. Okay, so won't go any deeper than that, but hopefully amidst all the rambling that I did, you should have a good idea of how to work with Express, and I think it's great. I think it's really good. So when we go through Angular, you'll see how you can expand it even more, and then after that we'll go through Mongo and we'll expand it further.